thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today for the 8th New Zealand Business Application Summit. I can't believe we've been doing that for 8 years in a row, and things have changed quite a lot. So we started with the Dynamics 365 Saturday, and then it became the Dynamics 365 Friday, and then now we call it the New Zealand Business Application Summit. Maybe next year will be called the Copilot Summit. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But it's great to see that the community is quite engaged, both from a speaker perspective and from a attendees perspective. This event is to provide a stage for all our local and international community to voice their knowledge and then share with the community, but also for the community to learn from people that are passionate about the Power Platform and Dynamics 365. So today we've got a packed audience. So I'll start with just acknowledging a few of our sponsors. So I really want to thank the Dynamics user group meetups. So they are the ones that sponsor us throughout the year for our meetups, but also they sponsored this event as well. They are quite active across the globe. So they've got quite a few user groups running at the same time, and they've got some large events running. I believe the next one, if you're around in May in Las Vegas and you would like to register to DynamicsCon 2026, just feel free to go and attend some of those events. But at the same time, we've got quite a wide variety of sponsors that helped us through this event. Microsoft providing us with some of the venues, Stratos, H2R, and Hamish himself from App Rising, supporting us from a sponsorship for the food that we're getting for the day, Fusion 5 for the venue as well. So thank you very much for all the sponsorship and for giving us this opportunity. Now, Wellington is a cozy audience that we've got today, so more people will be joining us throughout the day. Hamish, how's Auckland looking?
We're actually looking pretty quiet today, but I think it might be quite a good opportunity to have more in-depth discussions and more questions and things. So I'm looking forward to it. We've got a bit of a crew here, and I expect over the day we'll have a few more come in. Yep.
Awesome. Right, and Christchurch, how is it looking, Rich?
So that's good. Thanks for coming, everyone. It's pretty warm in here, so I'm going to work on the temperature. But they're all good. We're looking forward to hearing from David. Will come up after the keynote, talking about building a language portal with Maori, which is great. And then Sudeep's going to go MCP. Hamish is going to talk about Dynamics. And then we've got Ben, who's going to talk about becoming the client. Yeah. And then Janine Rich is going to talk about Power Planner. I think it's a solution within model-driven apps to run projects, which is quite good they've created. So it's quite good to see. And now we're going to talk about vibe coding and should we be doing it later on today. But that's us for Christchurch, but looking forward to it all.
Awesome. Last but not least, Richard, you'll be presenting. So in Wellington, we've got right after the keynote, Shobit is going to come and join us. And he's going to talk about the big question on, do I go Copilot Studio or do I use AI Foundry or do I use both? So there'll be some interesting discussions over there. Also from Microsoft, Eliza will be joining us right after Shobit. Lynn, MVP, who travels the world and happens to be in Wellington today. So he's going to be coming back to home Wellington and then presenting his bit. Nathan also joined us from Auckland this time, and he's going to be presenting in the Wellington stream. And then last but not least, I'll be talking a little bit about, using Copilot and adding value to what you're doing. I guess one of the main themes about this conference, as I look through all the different sessions that were presented, last year we talked a lot about how to build AI capabilities, how to use Copilot Studio. I think the main theme this year is how do we get value out of all this AI, all those AI capabilities, which is really good. So we also have an online stream. There's quite a lot of them joining us from across the globe. So literally all the way from someone joining us online in New Zealand, all the way to El Salvador on the other side of the world. So we've got Franco, Sharon, Mike, Keith, Mark, Pavan, Dharani, Graciela, and Anita who's going to join us from all across the globe. So really excited about all those sessions. All the sessions are hybrid or recorded online and streamed live. So feel free to jump into a different track if this is not your jam and you're interested in a different topic. But most importantly, without taking too much time, we've got an awesome lineup for the keynote. So we're going to start with Michael Baldwin in Auckland, who's going to set the scene for this conference and then help us understand what is the impact of sort of all the AI capabilities that are happening with Microsoft on the New Zealand market. Following that, Fuxian is going to join us from Australia and is going to share sort of the foundation, the pillars on how to have a good AI strategy. And our dear friend EY from the UK, who just came back from Ignite, is going to share all his experience about what he's learned at Ignite and the important things to note. And then right after that, we'll split into our separate streams. So Hamish, over to you.
Mute.
I think.
No, there.
All right, I'm off mute now. Can everyone see that screen okay?
Yes.
Oh, and you got the, oh, yep, cool. So, yeah, thank you, Michael, for doing the keynote today. He's got some really good slides here. Some of the, I guess, the latest stuff in a pretty cool video to show. So I'll hand over to Michael and let him take away. But thank you for doing the keynote and representing Microsoft's.
Thank you, Hamish. Thank you, Rami. Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, humans and agents alike, welcome to the keynote for the 2025 edition of the New Zealand Business Applications Summit. My name's Michael Baldwin, and as always, it's a real honour to be asked to present this morning, and appreciating that you've scraped probably the lowest of the low of the bottom of the barrel to have me come and present this morning. Look, Copilot told me to open with a quote. There's so much fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the world today. I always turn to uplifting books. Douglas Adams, my favourite author, he once gave a talk where he said, I'm going to talk for a while and hope that I sufficiently provoke and inflame opinions that there'll be an outbreak of chair throwing at the end. While I don't advocate for chair throwing as such, what I do hope is that the sessions that you watch today, the speakers that you hear from, ignite a wee spark that drives innovation forward here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and our community is a really, really important, a key part of that. Normally, keynotes end with a thank you, but I'd like to mix it up. So I'm going to start with a thank you to our customers. I just want to say thank you to all of you who trust Microsoft as the platform on which you build your foundation of your business, your organization, and that you choose us to innovate. So thank you to you for that. For trusting us to empower you to achieve more. To our partners, and now I know there are a lot of partners in the room that are speaking, that are online listening as well. Thank you for continuing to trust us to be the platform on which you innovate, on which you deliver value, in which you run your businesses. And it's only through that vibrant community of partners and contractors and like-minded individuals that we drive scale and innovation here in New Zealand. To our speakers and to our organisers, I'd also like to extend a thank you, not just for organising and doing the stuff that you do to make this conference happen, but to the dedication that you show to our community. And thank you for giving up the time that you can never get back for making this community and making these organisations great. And so thank you for all that you do. Speaking of community, I think today, as much as anything, is a celebration of what brings us together, not just as a community of technical users, of tool users, but also as a community that shapes how organizations do business, how we experience work in New Zealand. And that's changing. And we all play a crucial role in how New Zealanders experience the thing that probably, other than sleeping, we do most in our lives, right? So thank you. And this is a really special thing to be a part of. And I think New Zealand do this as well, if not better than anyone else in the world. But that world is changing. AI and agents have changed our workforce. They changed the way we work, the way we build technology, the way we think about business processes, and in some case, how we interact with our day-to-day lives. And as we close out the 2025, the year of the frontier firm, anyone's playing Keynote Bingo, I hope you have that in the center square of your bingo card. As we close out this year, we see an unprecedented level of technology change, of innovation change, of organization and role disruption across the board. The way businesses organize themselves has shifted. The way we think about our roles and the way we see our role in the workplace has shifted. And with the number of agents set to explode in the next 2 years, there's some trepidation about what role those agents play in our world, about what role we play in the workplace. Is AI still coming for our jobs? I make the case that the answer to that is no, and here's why. Human labor, our ability to do stuff, has already reached its limit. 79% of leaders across New Zealand in the 2025 Work Trend Index say that they don't have enough time or energy to do their jobs. 59% of leaders in New Zealand say that productivity must rise. So there's a gap there, right? There's a gap that needs to be bridged to ensure that businesses are profitable, they're sustainable, and that they're meeting the demands of their leadership. In the next 12 to 18 months, 78% of New Zealand leaders are confident that they'll use digital labor to expand their workforce capacity. So we have this gap between human capital or budget constraints. We're not seeing headcounts rise, but we are seeing leaders expecting increases in productivity. So what does that mean for a nation? A nation that's traditionally been number 8 wire, innovate, come up with solutions, come up with innovative things, creative ways of solving problems. So the role of AI is not to replace us in our work, but it's to replace the digital drudgery, the manufacturing style things that we still do every day, despite 10 years of digital transformation, that hold us back from being truly innovative. And so just like tractors allowed us to plow fields more quickly, machines allowed us to manufacture more effectively, AI is here to supplement us and to help us drive that gap, bridge that gap for human innovation, and help us meet those increased productivity demands. So it's not here to replace us. But this community is a central part of how we drive that here in New Zealand. So how do we do that? How do we address that productivity gap? Here's our traditional engineering-led view of how we see the world: people, process, technology. And AI is changing all three of those things. It's fundamentally changing the shape of that envelope, right? It's not just people, we need new skills. It's not just process, we need to reimagine what that looks like in an AI-driven world. And certainly for us as technologists, the technology piece is the thing that's most at risk for disruption. In fact, it's already here, right? And AI is blending that process or that curve of technology and process expertise coming together. Now, we've already been on a journey as low-code practitioners, as Power Platform experts, by bringing makers and process experts, SMEs, closer together. That will continue to trend that way in the years ahead. Low-code started to change this model, but AI will fundamentally shift for everyone the need to have their makers and their process SMEs closer together to drive value. In other words, we all need to be low-code makers and citizen devs. So how do we reimagine those business processes that are going to drive the next wave of innovation, right? Here's the journey of bringing all of those things together. Now, there are multiple patterns for AI-infused work. We've seen this slide before. There's lots of different ways of shifting the needle from people with assistants. We're probably already there now in our organizations day to day. There will be some organizations that are starting to trend towards people-led agents. We've seen a whole bunch of announcements at Ignite about first-party agents landing in Copilot Studio. And we're starting to see the emergence of agent-led work being a real thing that we drive value out of in our businesses. So while this shift towards innovative AI-led firms is happening, it's not happening linearly. Some organizations will start at this kind of pattern 1 idea and stay there. Some business processes will start at pattern 2 and emerge towards pattern 3. But as we lead more towards pattern 3 for more organizations, more business processes, what does that mean for orchestrated process execution and the future of apps? So our new operating system, our new technology platforms look different. Not just apps anymore, but Copilot as a UI for AI, agents as a digital workforce alongside us as humans. So we've really now crossed the Rubicon of just having apps as systems of record, and they are now fundamentally systems of insight and systems of action. So the way in which we build apps now and will continue to build apps in the future fundamentally has changed and will continue to change. So blended teams of humans and agents together is the new paradigm. So with Copilot and agents alongside as an app maker and an app builder community, what does that mean for us? Does it mean that apps are dead? Do we still need CRMs and ERPs and last mile applications, HR apps, etc.? This is a legitimate question that was asked at the Power Platform Community Conference. If apps are dead, why are you all here fundamentally? And why aren't we all on the golf course? I make the case that apps aren't dead. The traditional view of forms over data apps are becoming fast obsolete. The way in which we build apps fundamentally has changed in an agent-first world, but apps are more essential than ever for the agent boss. So whether you're in pattern 2 or pattern 3 or whatever AI sort of pattern methodology you adopt, systems of record and forms over data will be a legacy thing. The new generation of apps are engineered for an agentic world where we have an insight into the actions that we're taking, both as individuals, as humans, and as agent-led teams or human-led teams of agents that are engineering a new world, right? So this is not the end of low code. This is new tooling that supports a new way of doing business, right? So it's a continuation of the evolution we've been on for 10 years from systems of record to systems of action. It's finally here. So apps don't just become places where we do work, they become places where we oversee work, right? Fundamentally monitoring, jumping in when there's problems, understanding the insights that drive better business processes. So apps are critical for the agent boss, right? I won't skip over this. I won't sort of labor too much of this slide, but the operating system of the future fundamentally looks very similar to the operating system we have now, right? We have a platform that allows us to govern and execute across data, secure operations that scale across thousands of users or thousands of solutions. We have the right tooling. We have the right teams that support accelerated transformation. We're already there with Power Platform, right? So this stuff is stuff that we're already used to. It's just the way in which we build apps will change and the role that they play will change. So cool announcements from Ignite. It's a technology conference, right? And as in Jurassic Park, there should always be dinosaurs on the dinosaur tour. There will be a whole bunch of announcements and sessions that we look at today, both in terms of new stuff that's coming along, as well as, how do we realize value out of that? And I think that's a really important theme. I just want to double down on the one in the middle, vibe.powerapps.com. This is the one that's kind of dearest to my heart because I like building stuff. And so I wanted to just share this one with you. I'm not sure if it's covered in other sessions today, but I just wanted to share this wee video. I don't know if it's going to play, but we'll give it a go.
I want to show you something amazing, something you've not seen from PowerApps before. Let's jump right into it with a prompt here at vibe.powerapps.com. What's awesome is this isn't like any vibe coding tool you've seen before. Here we can see I'm working with 4 agents: requirements agent, data agent, solutions agent, and the new agent on the team, the coding agent. The agents have immediately gotten to work breaking down my business problem and working through a multi-step set of tasks for me. As this builds, let's take a look at some of the code the coding agent is building. We have everything from design files that handle the layout and color system for the whole app, generated services, and lots of pages for the application. I'm excited to see what this app will look like. I've tried this a few times and there's always something new. Whilst the coding agent wraps up the first version of the app, let's take a look at what happened so far. If we look at the plan, we can see there are roles and jobs to be done. There's a data model that will support the whole business solution, and we'll jump into that in a moment. And a suite of technology that will also solve this business problem. Not just the app the coding agent is working on right now, but AI agents, workflows, and other assets that are necessary to support the business problem. We talked briefly about the data model. Let's jump in. Here we can see there are a number of tables that have been built out with relationships, everything from loop steps to employees, job postings, applications. This is great. What's interesting here is from day one, this application is working on Dataverse. Dataverse is a fully managed and secure planet-scale data platform, a platform that easily supports hundreds of millions of monthly users. It looks like the coding agent is finalizing details. Let's see how the app is looking. I can hide the terminal. Have a look at the split view here. There we are. Wow, a whole app. We have active postings, applications, a Kanban board that we asked for, a great left nav. Let's check it out. We've got my applications with charts. We can manage the postings. Let's add a new posting maybe. This job title would be test. Let's see if this works out. Great, I have a test. We also have the Kanban board. Oh, there's some styling issues, but looks like I can drag and drop on this board too, which is awesome. Just like low-code apps of before, we can use inline edits to make updates that we need. In this case, let me grab the hiring management header here. I'm going to go ahead and change that text color to purple. Maybe we'll make it a little bit more bold. That's great. I can continue to make these kind of edits over the app or work with my agents. For this example, let's jump into the data. We'll have a look at the loop steps that we have. We can see there's a number here, but I could ask the agents, are there other typical hiring stages that we don't have here? The agents can use the context, work with knowledge, and quickly reply that, hey, yes. There's actually a few things we could do. Background checks, final interviews, resume screening. Personally, I've just had an interesting idea. Let's add onboarding. That's something that we could add as a step here. Because the app is pulling this data direct, without any code changes, that onboarding step would be available in the Kanban. Now I can make these manual edits, but I have a team of agents working for me. So let's give them a much more complex prompt. I want to update the Kanban to flow nicely for a large number of stages, add in a light dark mode switcher. I know that folks really like that. Let's also style the app with a tint of purple, as that's our company brand, as well as let's add a new role for requirements around onboarding buddy. If we go ahead and submit this, we immediately start to see all the changes needed. So the agents are working together to come up with a task list, step-by-step implementation plan. Now, of course, this can take a couple of minutes because it's a very complicated problem. I'm going to switch over to a final version of this app that only took a couple turns, and I've really polished this up. Everything from employees looking for jobs internally to hiring managers managing the active roles. If I go review those roles, let's have a look at that Kanban for the software engineer. And I have a great header, really nice ways to filter down that data. We can go drag drop those to different areas. And of course, dark mode works as well. We could keep collaborating with our agents, but for now, I'm super excited to see what you can build at vibe.powerapps.com.
So a couple of things there, right? One, turn by turn. It's not just fire and forget. So you can actually interact with an agent as you would with Copilot, ChatGPT, etc. Two, the output is fundamentally not just forms over data anymore. This is a genuine app experience that you could then go and run a workload inside an organization, right? And it's a very, very small use case, but the idea is there, right? So this is an example of using agents to fundamentally change the way in which we build applications. So AI exists here not just to replace us, but to enable us to be more innovative and accelerate the pace in which we do stuff, right? So it's bringing people and processes and technology closer together to facilitate greater output, greater productivity, greater innovation. So that apps, stuff that we know as low code, but really as citizen makers, is going to drive a new generation of people and agents working together, an enabler for greater innovation, greater achievement, greater ambition. Look, it's going to be an exciting day for our community. We hear from partners, we hear from MVPs, we hear from customers on the latest trends and tools driving that innovation. It's a community that I'm really proud to be a part of. Thank you very much for having me here, and enjoy your day at the summit. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much. Fushan, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So let me get my screen up. That's an amazing opening there, Michael. Thank you for running the all the stuff that we're running to, but I'm going to share anyway. Actually, so that's a good segue to that. So hopefully you can see my screen. Yep. Okay, cool. So I'm Fushan. I'm part of PowerCat. I lead the team in the region. So if you may have heard of PowerCat from the tooling that we have with Copilot Studio Kit, COE Starter Kit, or maybe from some of our articles online and webinars. So my team engage directly with customer and look after all the blockers and all the difficult implementations and see how we can help them. And those learnings actually fit into the kits and also those articles and webinars. So what I'm going to share with you today is what are the key themes that we have seen as a team in PowerCat, what makes a successful implementation in today's era. And well, as Michael talked to earlier, it's a very confusing time now, right? Things are changing, changing at a very high speed. But if you think about our industry, in tech, in software, change is the only constant, right? We have moved from, I remember when I graduated, I was doing assembly programming. That's my engineering background. We have to be very specific into how we move things from registers to registers in a microprocessor. You move to C++, you still have to manage memory allocation, deallocation. You make a mistake there, your app is gone. You spend a big amount of your time fixing computing problems before you can address the business problem. Then we move to .NET, Java. Those are the managed runtime. You need a runtime to run your programs on. You no longer have to manage memory. It's gone. Then we go to low-code evolution. You don't even have to manage a lot of the computing problem that you're trying to solve. You can go straight to your business problems. But because fundamentally, that's what software is, right? It's fundamentally it's about solving a problem. But you have to solve a problem because of the infrastructure, because of the computing infrastructure underneath it. That's a big chunk of time that the software would have solved or infrastructure was solved in the first place. So it's confusing times. And here you see a message from Charles Lamana in his keynote in Power Platform Conference. Low code as we know it is dead. And as you see in the keynote earlier, app as we know it is dead as well. Well, there's a lot of, you may see it as, well, that's quite aggressive statement to put there. But that's the nature of our industry. You either disrupt yourself or people will disrupt you. And we've always been disrupting ourselves. Low code, AI, everything else. You will keep seeing this. This is not the first change you will see. 3 years later, someone will say AI, as we know, is dead. Maybe that's a bit, not 3 years, but that's the nature of it, right? And you'll just see a lot of people will you either be ahead of the curve or you're laggard or you're stuck in between. Now, what we've seen is the speed of this change sometimes left a lot of people behind, and people are still clinging on some traditional methodology, traditional processes, and that becomes detrimental. It is very, very difficult for customers and partners to get to the successful outcome. And that's why you do see some attention-grabbing headlines that says 95% of all AI projects fail. Now, I would challenge that. I said, well, AI projects, you do want to fail fast. You do want to have a degree of failure. And that's the nature of that spirit of innovation. Any projects that claim they want to be innovative and they have no appetite to fail fast, they're kind of at odds with themselves, right? That's kind of like not the right way to think about it. AI, even low code to a certain extent, when it's in its nascent days, it lends itself well when you have a spirit of the innovation that you want will also accept a degree of experimentation. That's the healthy innovation that we want to make sure that people understood that, right? So I'm going to just dissect it down to 3 key themes. I hope I won't take too long and ramble on because this could be an hour of talk, but I'm going to just dissect to 3 key themes that we've seen in PowerCat, like why certain projects didn't meet the expected outcome, certain implementation. And we're going to just focus on the low code / AI type because I wouldn't do justice if I talk about the older days of .NET projects and the traditional IT projects that we have. Now, the first key theme I'm going to talk about is we always forget this. Customers, partners, Microsoft, sometimes we always forget this. Technology is a tool, right? So if the CIO says we're going to buy Copilot Studio, therefore our company is now innovative, therefore our company is now embracing AI. That's not necessarily true. You just have a tool. And the same thing we've seen with Power Apps, the same thing we've seen with all the other low-code tools out there. It sounds very basic, it's fundamental to it, but a lot of time we see people forgot about it. Some projects that we've seen where customers say, the vision is to apply AI here, the vision is to implement low-code here. And while we progress on that project, and there's a realization, someone refuses to budge and says, this is the way we've been building it. This is the way we've been doing it. It could be a process. It could be people, gatekeepers. It could be things that are difficult to change and move, and people refuse to challenge that because the same statement that people will throw at us and says, this has been the way we've been doing it. If someone says this has been the way we're doing it, and yet you want to apply a new modern tool on top of it, you're never going to have a successful outcome. That has been one of the issues that we have. So you could have a shiny new tool, but if you, the way you use AI is you treat it like for example, you create an agent that answers questions on HR policies, and people want to treat like a glorified search engine, you're not going to get good results. Okay, so there has to be a desire to change. Now, change is painful, and I always tell people, if you don't see pain, you're not changing, because the least pain is do nothing, and everyone knows that's not the option here. Particularly in today's world, your competitor will at 20 years ahead of you if you do nothing. If you refuse to change, yeah, that's difficult, right? So don't take a tool and then refuse to change. That's not the idea. That leads to the second part. Iterations is key, and it does sound like yes, it's given. For those of us who've done low code, you probably have observed this as well in your customers. Those who iterate very quickly, those who create very short release cycles. Release 1, I will do 5 things. Release 2, I add 2 more things, and release 3, I add 5 things more. And as each cycle, you learn and you iterate, right? That to me is the best recipe. Now, I've seen customers who took a low-code tool or to an AI tool and treat it like a traditional IT project, and you have months of development, and you claim you do agile because you have sprints in your project plan, but you're not having that cycle of release and learn. There's always this traditional thinking that my work stops after ship. That's not true. Your work starts after you ship, especially R1. Now, I always argue that an app on an agent that does 5 things very well is better than an app and agent that does 100 things and not doing very well at it. Then in the agent world, we have situation where we see some stakeholders went to some big conference and come back all pumped up and said, we want an agent for my company. And they just go with, I want a super agent. I want a super app, an agent that does everything. That can answer questions about HR, answer questions about procurement, answer questions about finance. You're starting at the wrong foot, right? So you don't give yourself the chance to iterate. So iteration is key, and even more so in AI world, you start hearing a lot of people talk about evals. It's the AI equivalent of go to rapid release and learn. That signals how your users are using it, what kind of question that come back, and particularly so for agents where things are very non-deterministic. That's a joke about test software testing. You can say the tester walks into a bar and order 99 beers. The tester walks into a bar and order -1 beer. And then the actual user walks in the bar and asks where's the toilet, and the bar went up in smoke. So you can't predict. You can't assume you know your users. Your users are your best judge, and the best way to learn is to iterate very quickly. The most successful outcome is where you have small and very rapid iterations. Right, so that's the important takeaway. And the last point I want to make as part of the theme that we see is the era of low code, the era of today's technology. The barrier of entry has been far lower than it has ever been. Right, before that, you do have folks who manage projects, folks who are your customer stakeholders who just used words like turnkey. You use words like outsourcing, like my partner, my implementation partner, my consultant will do everything A to Z, and the person will have no idea what the technology does. And I think that's detrimental in today's age. And I think the opportunity is a missed opportunity. With low code, with AI, our challenge, if I'm speaking to a project manager in my customer space and the project manager is only focused on delivery, the person don't really get the nuances to the tooling, the what low code or AI demands. it's a missed opportunity. I would challenge all of them to be more immersive in the technology. Technology is no longer something that someone sits in a server room and start writing scripts and code. The whole point about low code and AI is bringing this business world and the technology world far closer together, as close as you've ever been today. Vibe coding, using prompts, and all the other innovation that has been rolled out give us a lot more opportunity. And I challenge people who have never built an app, who have never been an agent, try it. Be more immersive. Be a partner in the journey. Don't be someone who just give deadlines. Like, be immersive, and I say that with good reason, because you get a better, more appreciation of what works and what doesn't work. And that's important because there's a lot of escalation we see from customers who just say Copilot Studio doesn't work, and we ask the question why, and they can't answer why. Well, there could be many reasons. Is it because your knowledge source is not ready for it, right? So, or is it because you don't have the right, your prompt quality is incorrect because you're expecting it as a glorified search engine? Just type in one keyword and expect it to give you results. That's not that's just treating it the wrong way, right? So if you don't have the appreciation, you will think everything doesn't work because you refuse to change, because this has been how you've been doing it. So yeah, so be more immersive. That's my challenge to my customers as well, and partners some of you who are non-technical. The days now, right? It's more than ever, like the opportunity for us to be part of the journey, not just sitting far away and just managing Kanban boards and sticky notes. So those are the key takeaways, and I hope that resonates with you as well, and I hope that sets us in the right foundation moving forward, because all the changes that we have, whether today is white coding, tomorrow it could be something else, change will always be there. If our industry didn't disrupt ourselves, someone else will. Right? I'll leave you with one podcast that I heard a couple of days ago. I actually listen to a lot of podcasts, but I listen to a lot more comedians. Now, interesting, there's this comedians who talk about in the early 1900s, the number one industry is whaling, whale oil. And when someone discovered petrochemical, the industry disappeared in 1 year. That's how fast, like even in a non-tech world, you kind of appreciate things will never be the same every year. They will keep changing. But navigating those changes, principles, and some of the fundamentals will be there, right? So hopefully the key thematic takeaways that I share here are actually very fundamentals, but it's much more pronounced in today's age with AI and all the madness that we see in the industry. So thank you for giving me the time. I'm happy to see a lot of familiar faces. I hope you have a very enjoyable summit.
Thank you very much for sharing good insight in terms of how to think about AI and how to implement it. All right, and then from the UK, MVP EY, you want to take it over and then tell us all about Ignite?
No pressure at all there. So first of all, I'd like to thank the organisers for inviting me to be part of this keynote. It's my first keynote ever. Being very English, that means that my hand, which you cannot see, right, is trembling about 1.5 millimeters, because I am very English. I have to apologize. I'm not able to be there in person after traveling twice to the US for a week each time in the past 3 weeks and coming home back to the UK. My wife put her foot down when I said I've been invited to keynote in the other side of the world, and went, if I go, I might want to think about not coming back. So I appreciate the ability. I'm also glad that Michael mentioned Douglas Adams, one of my favorite authors. Unlike Microsoft, who at the moment believe that the answer to everything is the word Copilot or the phrase AI, obviously people in the know realize that the answer to life, the universe, and everything really is 42. And finally, to Fu Wen's comment about clients not knowing what to doing, generally we find that the problem exists between the chair and the keyboard that they're sitting in, because people think that they know how to do things. Anyway, right. But on a more serious note, Fu Wen said about being disruptor and brought the example, and to be clear, I did not know he was going to use the example of the whaling industry. But I think that the fact that he's used that as an example is a really good place to kick off. Now, I have about 11 different things to go through. We're going to go on a whistle-stop tour, so I don't ever run my time too much for it. And I'm more than happy for people to reach out afterwards. All this news is, of course, public. But the first thing is Copilot Chat. Now, hopefully,
everybody here has been using Copilot, has Copilot licenses, basic Copilot, the Microsoft 365 Copilot. If you are unfortunate enough to work in an organization which doesn't give out those licenses, my sympathies with you, and tell people to do it and get them. However, this is really a disruptive move, because at Ignite last week, which I was fortunate enough to be at in person, Microsoft announced that basic Copilot chat used across Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, including being able to see your data and web data, will be available to all users, including ones without a Copilot license. You will no longer require it. Now, this is the basic Copilot. It will have limitations in place, but this is the first AI company that I've come across, definitely in terms of the hyperscalers, that is providing this. And I think that's going to be a real disruptor, because if we think of the adoption of Copilot and AI capabilities by organizations, generally it goes, what's the cost of that? And you say, well, this is the price. And they go, we've got 10,000 people. Why would we pay hundreds of thousands or millions a year without actually working out the ROI? Microsoft has just lowered the barrier for this. It's not fully rolled out yet. It will hopefully be fully rolled out, I'm hoping, in the next month or two. But this is the way to get organizations much more familiar with AI tools, and of course, specifically Copilot. Now, this is the basic Copilot chat, right? It will, as I said, have access to Outlook. It will be able to help you some stuff in Outlook, some stuff in Word, some stuff in Excel, bit of things in PowerPoint, right? In fact, I generally have the viewpoint, and I say this publicly, and I know this is being recorded, that Copilot in PowerPoint sucks, right? It can't do anything. It thinks it can do things, and it tells you, you say, create a slide with this, and it says, I'm going to create a slide, or create an image and put it in or update it. It says, I'm going to do it, and then it says, oh, I failed to do it. And you say, but you told me you could. And it says, I realized I wasn't able to. Yes, I'm not quite sure why Microsoft programmed it in that way. However, in the Microsoft 365 Copilot, so the one that is the paid for SKU, it's now upgrading. It's going to be the next version of agents, multi-turn conversations. You are going to be able to start with Copilot chat within Teams or within the Windows application using your natural language prompts to generate documents, spreadsheets, and presentations. And it will be multi-turned, like when you're doing things at the moment for it. So it's not just the fire and forget. It will then open it up, and then you will be able to continue iterating with Copilot onwards for it. Now, at the moment, this is available through the Frontier program. If you're not signed up for the Frontier program, don't worry. Microsoft is significantly pushing this out, which is one of the reasons why Microsoft have also, as a total incidental point, released in beta the new AB series of exams to get people much more familiar with Copilot and the capabilities for them. I am very much looking forward to seeing if this actually works as promised within PowerPoint. But a quick overview, which is going to be a black and white silent movie for you because my system is not able to play sound. So as you can see, you're now in Microsoft 365. You're using the word agent. You're giving it a prompt in natural language. I know it's small writing, so you'll have to believe me that it's actually doing something and it's a correct prompt. It's thinking about it. You can select the template. It's then going to think about it a little more, possibly asking you some questions to clarify. And then it goes and creates, which is really cool. And I think that this is really, really great. In fact, specifically with PowerPoint, it's going to be able to go ahead and update, for instance, with company template styling. It will be able to do that with Microsoft Word as well. So watch this space. I'm hopefully going to blog about it when I can get access to it, but that's really cool, I think, to do. It's taking it to that next level. And talking of the M365 Copilot, right, for us in business applications we have Copilot control within model-driven apps, right, within Dynamics 365 and within Canvas apps to a sort of point for it. Now, until now, although Microsoft has generically used the term Copilot, they're individual Copilots. Each one is developed by the specific team. So the Copilot for Dynamics 365 Sales is developed by that product group. The one for customer service is developed by the customer service product group, which meant if you ask the customer service one something about sales or something about your emails somewhere else, it would have absolutely no idea. Microsoft is now changing this. Everything is going to use the M365 Copilot as the base, with access to all of your files, all of your information, obviously security governed and constrained. But that means if you're in Dynamics 365, which we'll be coming to in the fullness of time, and that's not a long fullness of time either, for those who are very familiar with the when Microsoft uses the phrase fullness of time. I can see Rami smiling over there. This will be there very, very shortly, but you can talk to it. So for instance, if you're in Dynamics 365 customer service or sales, you could talk about the emails you're receiving which are not connected. You could get the grounding from the web for more generic questions. Microsoft's viewpoint is you should be able to do it all. It also means from an engineering standpoint, they just do add-ons on the top of it, and it will be aware of all the data in the context of the application. Now, obviously, that means if we're building bespoke Power Apps, it will only be able to relate to the data within it. So that gives us a thought about what data should we actually be surfacing to ensure we should be getting access to it. So this is, I think, really cool. It's an interesting vision by Microsoft. We'll see how capable it is. But I think that this is really, really great. And you'll be able to use the additional agents like Researcher, Analyst, and all the other ones that they're coming out to look directly at the data. So analyzing your data, researching your data, and pulling in information from everywhere else through the connection to Microsoft Graph. Now, we saw the image, which Michael showed, 1.3 billion agents by 2028. I remember when Power Apps first started off, and they're going 500 million Power Apps by 2025. And then in late 2022, early 2023, they removed that because they realized that they were going way over that, and they didn't want to limit people for it. But obviously now with agents, and with lots of agents coming, we need to be able to see and control them. Now, to date, when doing Copilot Studio and stuff, we use the Power Platform Admin Center. It's a lovely place, right? The new version of it is really, really nice. Managed environments gives even more. I really like those. However, we're going to now have agents from lots of other places. Welcome to the Agent 365. This will be the home for everything agentic within your tenant, your Microsoft tenant. This will include the Microsoft 365 Copilot, any Copilot Studio agents, your Dynamics 365 Copilot, and any third-party agents that you have deployed as well. This will be present, if you haven't seen it already, in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Now, the stuff within Power Platform Admin Center is not going to disappear. I think possibly there's going to be a slight shift. They're not necessarily going to develop as much as they were thinking of going to develop, because that will now move into the centralized space. It will mean a slight headache for us in terms of gaining permissions to access it. We all know what it can be like to access things, as Power Platform people, and we ask for permissions within Microsoft 365 Admin, and the clients go, no, that's not your space. So we'll have to navigate those waters for it. Really nicely here, there's going to be visuals. It's not just going to be a list and a registry of all of your agents. You'll be able to see visuals of all your data places and the agents connecting to it, or of all of your agents and which data they're connecting to. You could select a single data source and see all the agents connecting to it, or a single agent and see everything it's connecting to, both in your tenant and outside your tenant. So this is really, really cool stuff. Moving on, because I'm sure Rami's probably checking the time and how long I'm speaking for. The 3 IQs, Work IQ, Foundry IQ, and Fabric IQ. Now, this is something, I'm going to talk briefly about each one, that Microsoft has been talking about for years. Part of the challenge in organizations from a technical perspective is you have lots of data everywhere. And if you're needing to connect to it, you need to create those connections. You can't connect to a single point and then have it automatically feed everything into, unless you go and build it yourself. These 3 capabilities are new backplanes that Microsoft has built. So Work IQ is the intelligence layer behind Microsoft 365. It's about understanding you, your job, and your company, all of your work data. So emails, files, meetings, and chats. How do you get work done? Memory, so your style, your preferences, how you communicate with AI agents, and your organizational chart and the relationships in them. So now you'll be able to build agents tuned for your specific business needs. And of course, all of these IQ items are fully secured and grounded, within the organization, and respect all the data privacy for it. Fabric IQ, well, it's not replacing Fabric, right? If you remember when Fabric was announced a couple of years ago, and it was the next big thing around data estate, this isn't replacing the data estate. It's adding a semantic intelligence layer, changing Fabric, transforming it from a unified data platform into a comprehensive intelligence platform, allowing autonomous agents to reason, learn, and act in real time to see outcomes, monitoring life signals coming from your entire data estate. Decisions are context aware, grounded in your business semantics and what is going on. Challenge here for organizations: if you don't have good data discipline at the moment and data models, you will struggle if you do not have it. So it's an opportunity for partners to go and help with data modeling and all your stuff within the Azure data space, data warehouses, data lakes, lake houses, all those wonderful sorts of stuff. And finally, Foundry IQ. Now, this is part of Microsoft Foundry. Microsoft Foundry is the renamed Azure AI Foundry, which last year was the announced as the rename name for Azure AI Studio. If you're going to ask me what they're going to call it next year, I have no idea, but I'm opening a book. So if you want to submit bets for what they're going to change it to, feel free to ping me directly. This is built on top of Azure Search. It's a culmination of the intelligence of the entire Microsoft Cloud, custom applications, and the web. Essentially, you've got your knowledge bases, knowledge sources, and everywhere for it. It will be the single place you plug an agent into, and it will seamlessly then connect you onwards as you need for it, again respecting things. So this is going to be really cool, albeit this is for the more bespoke AI space. But hey, even as business apps people, right, we still do that. We just say Copilot Studio should be the front end rather than build a bespoke bot in the front. Almost finished. 3 more quick things. So the sales development agent, and this, the organization's wanting to scale, this is going to be a virtual teammate. Doesn't take coffee breaks. It doesn't take holiday. It will work on deals. If you're worried about that, you or your clients are worried about that, all those cold leads who are not really doing anything and are stringing you along or wasting your time, give it to the sales development agent. This at the moment does not require any additional licensing cost. It will be a virtual teammate. You'll get it as part of Dynamics 365 sales, and it will continuously, without fatigue, without drop-off, within your go-to-market strategy. It's not a rogue automation firing off emails. It's designed to research, qualify, engage fully and autonomously. As a mailbox identity, access to CRM, it can sit on top of Dynamics 365. It can also sit on top of Salesforce, and a clear remit. It's a system that's trained to behave like a seller, not just help one. So for organizations that you've got a load of cold leads coming in or old leads, you could just throw it over to this and see what happens with them for it. Moving on, the last tech item specifically, and then there's one other item about learning and development, the model router. One of the challenges about building AI models is you need to choose which model you're going to go and use, right? Which reasoning is best, which model, work it out, right? Now, some people may think that building a model to choose what coffee they're going to have in the morning from their selection requires 3 trillion data points. It's not particularly great, to be honest. It's got environmental impacts and cost underlying it. But if you select the wrong model, you're going to be charged for that. Well, Model Router is now coming to enable you to intelligently select. In fact, not even enabling you. You use Model Router. A Model Router will intelligently select an underlying model, a small model, a large model, a reasoning model, per prompt that you're using. It's dynamic switching between them. So you can send one request and let it optimize for capability. It will see what you should do. So smaller and cheaper model, possibly for coffee, or if you're trying to work out what your sustainability targets based on your data will be in 4 years' time, probably a more complicated model. Single deployment and chat experience. And this is really, really cool. As you can see, model availability at the moment are 18 models, and you will note Claude, because one of the big announcements of Ignite is Microsoft has now got Anthropic, I think that's how you pronounce it, on board. Yep. So all of the Claude, not all of the Claude models are there yet. They're still rolling them out, but Microsoft is now the only hyperscaler with all of the major AI models available for you to use within it. And closing off, AI Skills Navigator. Now, part of the challenge that we are having, and I say this as somebody who looks at technology and the speed of it and goes, how the heck am I working every day and it's supposed to keep up with it? Leaving aside clients who go, what's this thing called AI? How do we know what to do? How do we skill people up in this ever-changing world? Now, generally, we go to Microsoft Learn, Microsoft Docs, right? We read through things, there's some videos, or we go to YouTube channels, right? Nathan's got a great YouTube channel where he talks about technology. Yes, Nathan, I called you out specifically for it. You have an amazing YouTube channel. Where he talks about, we talk about technology for it, but these are all disparate places which we need to go to. They're different front doors. How do you find something? So this is a new capability just released by Microsoft at Ignite last week. I was fortunate enough to get a preview of it 2 weeks before, and has multiple sources. It's aimed to be a single front door because Microsoft Learn, Microsoft Docs, almost all of the Microsoft official YouTube channels, the others will be following along shortly, feed into it. And there's a lot more planned. And when you go register for it, and this is free to do so, you select a persona. They have about 2 to 3 dozen personas, including things like executives and business leaders. They have actually given some thought to this, not just the techies. And it will then start curating playlists for you to be able to see information that's relevant. You can, of course, search for stuff, but things that it thinks could be helpful. Not only that, and it will do that across all of the content. Not only that, anything that's written, it can turn into an audio playlist. So you could, not everybody is into the visual stuff, you could then go and listen to it if that's your thing to do. Plus, it has training on demand. So it's pre-recorded training by Microsoft certified trainers, but with AI in the instance as well. So as you're going through that on-demand training, you can ask questions and essentially have the AI respond to you grounded in that specific session. Now, there's a lot more that's going to come on it, which I cannot talk about, but this is really, really great. And especially I think will help us as well as customers be able to get the skills and keep updated for it. So with that, I would like to finish. I would like to apologize, of course, being very English and running over time. I'm sure Rami's been pinging me on WhatsApp to say, just finish already, stop talking. And want to wish you an amazing day of learning ahead. Thank you ever so much.
Cool. Thank you very much, EY. I felt like I was actually at Ignite and you saved me a few $1,000s from traveling there and coming back and probably saving my marriage as well. So thank you, Michael Baldwin. Thank you, Fushan. Thank you, EY, for the amazing keynote that we had. Hopefully that energizes everybody for the rest of the day. We're going to take a 3-minute break and then we're going to start the streams.
3 minutes. I've been down 5 minutes.
All right, 5 minutes. That's fine. That's fine. Thank you very much, everybody.